Welcome back, Coach.
Hey, it is good to be here, my friend, as always. And
It's
love
great.
the last previous session. So I know with this one, we're going to add some good content. That'll be helpful.
This has
And,
been a great series, actually. It's
yeah,
been a lot of fun
yeah,
doing it with you.
yeah, yeah.
So, so networking.
Mm,
It's funny. I mean, I've done a fair bit of
yeah,
coaching and work with students and with people at different stages in their career, and I have to say, the one thing that makes people uniformly uncomfortable, doesn't matter the age of the group, it doesn't matter how experienced the individuals in the group are, networking turns people's knees to water for whatever reason.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It does. You know, probably has a more of a greater fear than public speaking. They say public speaking is like number one. Network is probably close too. And I think probably, Jan, I don't think it, I know it because again, the nature of the work that I do, the big part of it, the big fear comes from not knowing really what it really is. Like
Hmm.
put networking in this box of I gotta go and I gotta meet someone just to ask them for something.
Yeah,
And what if they say no? You know,
right. Oh, but what an icky way to start a new relationship, right?
yeah,
There's a fundamental imbalance in that.
yeah, it is. It is. It is. And what people don't realize, that's not networking, and that's why you're nervous.
Hmm.
You're nervous because you have this expectation of something that shouldn't be an expectation at all when you first meet people. you know, Networking in relationship building go hand in hand. And and I always say this about people I want to meet, that I think they may have something that I want, is you got to position yourself in such a different way in that relationship and interaction. You're not going for anything, except to get to know the person and to be very clear with the person that you want to learn, you want to glean wisdom from this person. I mentioned in the last section about one of my mentors, Earl Stafford, who I pursued for a very long period of time. But when I connected with him, I didn't ask him for, this is what I said to him. I'm just going to make this very clear. I said, Mr. Stafford, I'm sure a lot of people reach out to you to connect with you for a multitude of reasons. Sir, I just want to gain knowledge from what you've learned.
Hmm.
And so my interactions with you is just kind of talk to me about what you've learned and how I can grow from it. So that kind of shifted the conversation from, this guy's not calling me and say, get on my Rolodex and call 20 people and see if you can give me a hookup here.
Right.
He wants to learn and grow. And I'm going to tell you something, people who have succeeded love that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's a different type. Now, from that, there's other doors that open, and we can talk about that. But it changes the dynamics when you're not going just asking for them to use their connections to help you with this person or whatever. Right. It's a different type of a relationship.
Well, so, the conversation that I often have with students and others that are sort of early in their career is, say you find yourself at a cocktail party,
mm-hmm.
right? Or at a reception or at some kind of networking event. Doesn't matter what the setting is.
Yes.
If somebody reaches out and shakes your hand and asks you to introduce yourself,
mm-hmm.
you don't start with, my name's Jan and I'm between jobs. Right? Because it's going to cause the other person to step back. They're going to go, oh, no, don't ask me if I can take your resume.
No, I'm not going to turn all my friends on to you. No, go.
That's where the expectation is the conversation is going to go, right?
Yep.
And my advice has always been, use it as an opportunity to add something of value to the other person, to contribute in some way, right? So, you're describing it with Earl Stafford is one way to do it. I think another way to do it is to introduce yourself, to acknowledge maybe that you're looking for your next opportunity, but then to expand into that, to say, you know what, here's the unique value I know I bring organizations.
Mm-hmm.
And here are the attributes of what that next opportunity needs to look like for me. Here's how I'm going to be spending my time. Here's how I'm going to be making a difference. Here's how I'm going to be working with customers or whatever it is. But when you frame it in that way, in my experience, Daryl, that does a couple of things for the person on the receiving end. The first thing is they're going to say, holy cow, this person's done some work on themselves. They're really self-aware.
Yep.
And there's something really attractive about that, because most people haven't gone to that stage.
Yes.
In doing the preparation work, right? So it opens them up because they'll genuinely want to know more. But the other signal that's going off in the back of their mind is going to be, holy cow, I need some of that in my organization. Or I'm not in a position to do anything with this person, but I can think of 3 people who need some of that in their organization.
Absolutely.
So that different approach, one of confidence, one of contribution, one of really seeking to engage with the other person and make a person-to-person connection, not a job seeker to employer connection. Is what shifts the entire conversation.
And that's the goal when you're networking. You want to lower the bar of comfort with this person. You don't want them to be up here in defense mode. You want them to feel comfortable talking to you. Sometimes it could just be not necessarily even career related, small talk. Like sometimes I'll meet people and they say, well, tell me about yourself. Well, my father, my husband, I've been married 26 years. I got 4 kids that, I love dearly, but drive me crazy sometimes. And the next thing person say, my kids drive me crazy. It could be, we all love our kids. We know that. But I'm just saying, it's a curveball, because they think you're going to come to them with all of this. I'm the vice president of U.S. sales from so-and-so corporation. They're like, you just talk about your kids.
It's a human connection.
It's a human connection. It's a human connection. You know what I mean? I'm from where are you from? Syracuse, New York, man. You don't know what it's like up there with all that snow. I lived in the snow. I mean, we would have snowfall all over the place. Like, really? I'm from Ontario. We do too, And what I'm saying is you lower the bar, because now they're comfortable talking to you. They don't feel intimidated, because all that does, the other stuff is going to come up. I'm unemployed, or I'm looking for jobs. But now that person is ready because there's been a connection made.
Right.
Yeah. I just think that that's so important in networking. Don't go in there thinking, I know there's anxiety that comes from job loss. I know that I really want to find a job. It's there. But people, this is going to sound weird, but people want to help people. They don't want to help machines.
Well, and you build a relationship with a person. You don't build a relationship with a job title.
There you go. Absolutely. Right? Absolutely. Let me say this. This is different because I'm entrepreneur. So from an entrepreneurial perspective, the majority of my business success has been a result of relationships. Somebody calls this person, who calls that person, who makes a connection. And the reason why I believe that is what we're talking about right now. I've always made it a point to build relationships with people. Always. I just think, even if it's something that right now is not going to mean much of anything as far as, but in the future,
you never ever know.
There you go.
You never ever know.
You never know.
And pre-COVID, I was telling everybody who came to me looking for advice to get really good at networking. And they'd always give me that face, and we'd have a conversation just like the one we're having. But the reality is, if in most cases, your odds of finding the kind of job, the kind of opportunity you really want by pursuing the traditional channels of applying online, virtually nil.
Right.
Right. The system is just not geared to work all that well. 9 times out of 10, when I've worked with folks to start to network and expand their circle and have a virtual coffee with people who've maybe either worked in that organization or work in the organization today, all the stuff you described in our last conversation about how you got into Abbott. Was it Abbott? Yes. You did the legwork. You reached out and met people, had conversations to learn what it's really like on the inside, so that you were well armed and well prepared for the interview when it came. And you got in through a recruiter, which might be possible for some people on this session. It might not be. But if not, you got to make your own opportunity, and your own opportunity is made by either networking and being introduced to people,
Yep.
or by doing it the old-fashioned way and just packing a couple of resumes into a briefcase and going knocking on doors.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, you'd be amazed how the low-tech, old-fashioned approaches to things can really differentiate you in this online world where everybody's, you know, sending out 15 resumes before breakfast in the morning and calling the day done.
Yeah. And people are looking at that like, I can't take another one of these.
No, exactly.
I can't take another one of them. Yeah.
So you know, whether it's knocking on doors and elbowing your way into a place and having a conversation with somebody, or whether it's doing volunteer work in your community, because guess what? Who shows up at these organizations? Leaders are volunteers in the community. If you're volunteering in the community, you're going to bump into people who are leaders and decision makers in some very large organizations.
It's called community reinvestment, and a lot of them have to reinvest. Part of their job is to go into the community and reinvest. You know, in the community. My first major workforce development contract was because of someone who was on the workforce investment board, who was a CEO of a major company, who liked my work, and so you know, and I networked with them, and doors open. So the point I'm making is that you'll meet all kinds of people through volunteering. It's a powerful tool. Most people, it's kind of a hidden one because a lot of people don't even know about that. But you do meet a lot of people.
Yeah.
Who are of influence.
So you're not interacting with the world sitting in your living room sending resumes out on your laptop through the day.
You're not. You
got to be out colliding with people.
Yeah.
Now, having said that, I know you've also got some really good tips on how to use LinkedIn and some of the other networking tools, Daryl. So I think we've given lots of good advice so far about networking in general. But if you've got some specific tips, let's take maybe the last few minutes to share some of those, if you would.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I just want to say, you know, I'm a big fan of LinkedIn. I just think that it's a tremendous tool if used right. And I'll say that because some people don't know how to use it. They still treat it like a Facebook, and it's not a Facebook. It's a professional site. When you're posting things, they should be professional. You know, I mean, every now and then you'll post a kid picture, and that goes, or somebody graduated, because that's we need that too.
It's human.
Yeah. It's but you really want to, because what you're doing is essentially it's like we talk about reinvention, but rebranding. It's a tremendous rebranding kind of a tool, because you're through the social media venue or outlet, you're telling a lot of people about who you are. So the first thing I just wanted to say, one, is that when you build your profile, make sure it's like you're building a resume. It looks good like a resume. And the reason why is because LinkedIn actually has an application where you can take your profile, save it as a PDF, and send it off as a resume. A lot of people don't know that. And it's very simple. You know what I mean? It shows you where you can do it. Click on it, boom, and send it. Because a lot of the job opportunities that come through LinkedIn is a click and apply. And so, you know, to opportunity. So just in general, make sure it's meaty. It's, you know, you got good information in there as far as, and then another thing too with LinkedIn. I had my son just recently because he just graduated from college, you know, through this time. And so, you know, the whole job thing has been kind of skewed because of the fact that with COVID. So put on when you're in your header, seeking employment in whatever fields. It could be a field that you're reinventing in. So when people see your profile, they'll say, okay, this person is seeking employment. Don't put what you used to do, whatever your job assignment was.
Smart.
Tell people that you're seeking something. And make sure that that's in the tagline. Secondly, thirdly, I guess, if you're trying to reinvent yourself and you're trying to reinvent yourself into another field, it's probably the last piece of advice I would share. Well, one more after this real quick. Go in to see if there's groups that may have leaders in the field you're interested in going in. And what you want to do there is contribute. You know, it could be articles that you've read or articles that you write or whatever, because now people are starting to see you. They're seeing
in the fields you want to be in.
Yeah. And then there's an interest in, okay, now, wow, you know, who's this person? And then as people start to see you, they become comfortable with connecting with you on LinkedIn because they've seen your information. And then, once people connect with you, then you can just like as they're introducing themselves to you and you're introducing, you can tell them where you are and where you're going. You'll be surprised how many of the people may say, "Hey, that's pretty interesting. I'm not hiring in that position, but I know of a friend that may be." Mm-hmm. Because you now have contributed. They see you as a contributor. Every group I'm a member of, I contribute to. Yeah, and it's presented tremendous opportunities for me, tremendous opportunities. Because I'm contributing. The last thing I just want to mention is the jobs feature. A lot of people don't even know it exists on LinkedIn. Go to LinkedIn, there's a little tab that says jobs. People don't even do anything with it because they don't know it exists. You can go in there and you can actually set up your own little algorithms, what jobs you're interested in and what area you're interested in. And LinkedIn takes that information, spits it through their system, and then all of a sudden you start getting job opportunities in the area that you're interested in that LinkedIn sends to you. LinkedIn has recently become, I'll say this and I'll be done, the #1 place that employers are using online it's surpassed Indeed and all those other ones that people are looking to hire people online through LinkedIn.
Wow.
Yeah, and I just recently read that, I think it was in Forbes or one of them, that they become #1. And the reason why I believe is because they feel as though if people have the wherewithal to be professional in that space, that's a professional. That's someone that seems to have it a little bit together. So those are just some tips. And then I probably went a little longer than expected, but definitely have your profile look professional, good. You can take the PDF and send it off to different organizations and individuals. Use the job feature and be active in the groups. And
shine light on your assets.
Yeah. And don't ever go at a person immediately and say, "Are you hiring?"
Have a conversation with them first.
Yeah, have a conversation, just like we said offline. If you meet somebody, get to know them, even though it's virtual, and then start to broach the conversation around, I'm looking for this. Because if not, and then LinkedIn, that's a real quick turnoff.
Yeah.
When you start right at them with stuff. So anyway,
because there's a lot of stuff that gets sold and promoted in LinkedIn, and that turns a lot of people off fast.
It turns them off. Yeah.
Connection first.
Yep, absolutely. So anyway, that's all I have for that. Thank you so much, man. This has been great.
Thank you. This has been a great series. I so appreciate it. Thank you.
I appreciate you.